In December 2019, the gaming world saw a shift that would lead to the slow and painful decline of a beloved title. Surviv Halloween, once a thriving and energetic battle royale, was acquired by Congregate. What followed was a series of missteps that drained the life from a game that had once brought joy to so many. The changes began innocuously enough: battle passes, a shop, new modes. But these additions felt more like intrusions. The vibrant community that had flocked to the simplicity and purity of Surviv.io's gameplay began to notice cracks in the foundation. The battle passes and shops felt like a betrayal, an exploitation of their passion. Then came the modes: Contact, Beach, Storm, each one more flawed and lackluster than the last, diluting the game's core essence. May 4th, 2020 marked a particularly dark day. The addition of mines seemed like a minor update, but it brought chaos. This single item, broken and unbalanced, was the final straw for many. The joy of strategy and skill was replaced with frustration and resentment as players abused the mines, leading to unfair matches that drove away those who had once loved the game. By November 3rd, 2020, Surviv.io had morphed into something unrecognizable. Inferno mode was introduced, a grotesque mockery of what the game had been, filled with lava and bizarre elements that made no sense. The once lively player base began to dwindle, unable to reconcile what the game had become with what they remembered. Then, on February 13th, 2023, the final blow was dealt. An announcement was made that shook the community to its core. The game was to be sunset, its life support slowly withdrawn. The developers tried to soften the blow, offering a new project, Bit Heroes Arena, as a beacon of hope. But for those who had grown up with Surviv.io, who had spent countless hours in its world, this was no consolation. The game was more than just code. It was memories, friendships, and a community. As the months dragged on, the end became inevitable. On March 2nd, 2023, the SSL certificates for the Surviv.io servers expired, and with them, the game's final breath was taken. Surviv.io was dead, not with a bang, but with a whimper. But the community was not ready to let go. In 2023, a glimmer of hope appeared when a group of dedicated developers, led by someone known as Hasanga, attempted to resurrect the game under the name Surviv Reloaded. It was buggy, a shadow of its former self, but it was something. For a brief moment, the community found solace in this imperfect revival. Yet, the joy was short-lived. Congregate, the very company that had overseen the game's decline, issued a DMCA notice that forced Hasanga to take down resurviv. The community once again was plunged into despair, but even in their darkest hour, they held onto hope. Hasanga began work on a new 2D browser shooter, a spiritual successor to Surviv.io. However, as time passed, the updates grew worse. The game lost its appeal, and what little hope the community had left began to fade. In the shadow of Surviv.io's decline, a spark of hope was ignited on October 16th, 2023. A passionate community member known as Contra took the remnants of the Resurviv project and breathed new life into it. He rehosted the game on a domain called Surviv Halloween Pro. At first, it was a quiet resurrection. The servers felt empty, the once bustling lobbies now eerily silent. But Contra was determined. He began to breathe life into the game, meticulously updating it and introducing new modes, starting with a haunting Halloween theme, followed by the crisp chill of winter mode, then the wild expanses of savanna and the desolate beauty of desert. Slowly but surely, players began to return, drawn in by the familiarity of the gameplay and the fresh excitement of these new modes. What was once a deserted wasteland of a game began to thrive once again. As the player count grew, so did Contra's ambitions. He purchased a new domain, survivmodes.io, and officially founded a new community, aptly named Surviv Modes. It quickly became a bustling hub, with lobbies filling up with 20 to 30 players each game. For a brief moment, it seemed like the golden days of Surviv.io were back, that the community had found a new home where they could once again enjoy the game they loved. But this revival was not to last. On February 21st, 2024, Contra received a DMCA notice from Congregate, a cruel reminder of the forces that had driven Surviv.io to its demise in the first place. The notice struck like a hammer, shattering the fragile hope that had been building. The community that Contra had painstakingly nurtured was dealt a devastating blow. Over 1,000 players who had found solace and joy in this revival were left in shock and anger. Faced with the might of Congregate's legal team, Contra had no choice but to immediately shut down Surviv Modes RDIO. The vibrant community he had built was left to scatter once more, searching for another place to call home. It was a heartbreaking end to what had been a beautiful, if brief, renaissance. Contra lost his passion, the fire that had driven him to keep the dream of Surviv.io alive was extinguished. Surviv Modes was dead, and with it, a piece of the community's heart. In the weeks that followed the shutdown of Surviv Modes.io, Contra made the difficult decision to transfer the Surviv Halloween .pro domain to a fellow developer. It seemed like a quiet retreat, but whispers in the community hinted that Contra hadn't fully stepped away. Rumor had it that he was still working on the game in the background, hoping to keep the flame alive in some small way. The new team, with Contra's unseen guidance, embarked on an ambitious project, a 50v50 mode that promised to bring back the excitement of large-scale battles. For a brief moment, it seemed to work. The player count began to climb again, with around 20 players filling each game. The community started to feel a flicker of the old magic, the spark that had made Surviv.io special. But this fragile resurgence was short-lived. On April 22nd, 2024, the hammer fell once more. Surviv Modes received its second DMCA notice from Congregate. This time, the consequences were devastating. The domain survivhalloween.pro was forced to shut down, and with it, the last remnants of the once thriving community were scattered. The player base, already battered and bruised, fell apart completely. Some sought refuge in other resurviv projects like Numerio Biz or smaller, obscure servers, but it was clear that the spirit of the game was dying. For Contra, this was the final blow. The passion that had driven him to keep the dream alive was extinguished. He lost the drive to continue working on resurviv, and with that, Surviv Modes was truly dead. In the aftermath of the shutdowns, a new link emerged: Expanded Water Online. It was a small glimmer of hope, a new home for those still clinging to the remnants of Surviv.io's legacy. But it was just a shadow of what had come before. The player count was dismal, a mere fraction of the vibrant community that had once filled lobbies with life and excitement. The energy, the camaraderie, the sense of belonging that had defined the Surviv.io experience. It was all but gone. This is where we stand now, a mournful chapter in the history of Surviv.io and its many attempts at revival. The memories of what once was still linger, but the game itself has faded into the background, leaving behind only a story of passion, resilience, and the inevitable passage of time.